In this demo, I want to show you how you can connect databases to Codolex and work with data. To get started, I already configured a SQLite database. And the first step we have to do is point to this database. If you go to the menu to local data sources, you can see here that I already configured this data source pointing to my demo database. Please keep in mind that this screen is still in active development, so the version you have might be different, might look different than what you see here. But what you can do here is add a local data source to a database. This means that from our Delphi environment, so my local development environment, I have a pointer to my database. And we need this because we want to import the structure of the database. So let me check. This connection is still active. So if you have configured your data source, your local data source in Delphi, you are then able to import data into Codolex. For this, I create a new data source. Let's call this DemoDB. And again, this screen, this form is in development, so it will look different on your environment. But the configuration will be the same. So what we do here is we define a data source. The type is database, and I point to my local data source. We need this to be able to import data into Codolex. So if I configure this, save it, then I have in my Codolex demo project, I have a DemoDB data source available. And now I'm able to import data. Sorry, import structure, I should say, the structure of this database. So here I can select a local data source, which we configured earlier. And if I click next, I can see all the tables that are ready to import, including the views. So let's do that. So Codolex will import the tables, including the structure of the entities, and create this into my data source. So as you can see here, we now have all the entities available, which are tables in this database. The next step is to work with this data so you can use this in a flow. For this, we'll start with the get from database activity, the building block. If you drag this in and double click, you'll have to select the entity you want to get. So in this case, let's pick course as the entity for the activity. So here we want to have the entity. You can see what's happening under the hood. So it will select everything from the course entity, and you can even specify the where clause. So if I invoke code completion, I can filter on the fields or even add joins. For now, I'll just get everything without any where clause, and I don't want to limit the results. The return value will be a list of courses, so let's save this. And as you can see here, we now have an activity which gets all the courses from the database and puts them in a course list. Now let's set this as a return value for the flow so we can actually use this in our code. And invoke this when we click on the button here. So let's do that. There you go. So we get a course provider and a course list. And the list is the list of courses. So we can even loop through it. Now let me just show the amount of courses we have. All right, but we're not there yet, because what we've done here is defined a local data source to be able to import the structure of the tables into my Codolex project. But imagine you run this application on a customer side or on an environment where we don't have this local data source available, because this is just for configuring this in my um, Delphi environment. If we want to run this application, we have to provide the location where the data source DemoDB is located. So for that, you'll need a piece of code, and that's something you can find on our Zendesk help website as well. Where, as you can see here, we need to create a database query which we can give back and provide the data source to this query. So the Codolex framework looks for this specific name, the DemoDB data source. We'll give back the query provider, which is a connection to my main FireDeck database. In this case, I already have a connection available. Of course, you can implement your own connection if you want. You can even implement your own database query. It's not a topic of this session, but if you want, you can create your own database query to be able to work with databases not via FireDeck, but via another database provider. The easiest way, of course, is just to use the FireDeck implementation we provide with Codolex. So what you have to do here is have this available. I currently have this in my DPR file, where we create a database connection and give this back to my query provider. So now I've done that, I should be able to run my application. And as you can see, we have 4 courses in the database, so the connection works. Now, if you want to get automatically this code to connect to your database, what you also can do is right-click on the data source and copy the connection code, which will copy this code into your clipboard, and you can paste it here as I've done already. Now we have the list of courses available. You can work with the other database building blocks as well. So you can work with transactions, with saving objects to the database. You can even loop, if you want to, loop over the list of courses. So if you want to do that, drag in a loop variable, specify the for in. You can say we want to loop over the course list with a course variable. And if you have a look at the source code, then you will see that we simply loop over the interfaced course list and give a course back. So that's something you can use if you want to change this course and then save it. You can simply drag in these activities and use the course variable to work with. If you want, you can also have a look at the model of this imported database. If you right-click on the data source, you can click View Model, and Codolex will open the model as it's imported. So as you can see here, we have our data as well. You can, if you want, update relationships between tables and update this. This is only in the definition in Codolex, so it won't update your actual data database. In case you've updated the database, you can simply re-import data. So if you do the import again, Codolex will update the event or the structure of your data in here. So all the entities will be updated with the new fields or new relationships or new tables. So that's how you can get started with working with data and Codolex. There are a lot more activities you can use regarding data and databases, which we will cover in the next sessions.